And in order to really target the hamstrings, we're going to also look at how we're breathing, and in particular trying to bring the breath into the sides and the back, which is going to bring us more into what we call the zone of apposition, which then allows the hamstrings to actually fire up a little bit more. So you just need a block, maybe a strap for this practice, and we'll begin lying down on our backs. So take your legs out long. Just body relaxed, and bring the hands onto the sides of your ribs. And then see if you can start to feel your breath moving out into your hands, so expanding laterally. And as you expand the breath laterally, you might also feel a little bit of expansion into the back. And see if you can let your belly just rise and fall. So try not to do anything funky with the belly, and certainly not holding it in. And once you feel like you've got the breath moving into the sides, just bring one finger down onto the bottom of your sternum to the point called the xiphoid. So it's right at the very bottom of the breastbone, a little kind of point like the tip of a knife, and just press down on that. And then continue breathing. So now this is going to kind of force more of the breath into the back body. That stability in the front, allowing the back to move a little bit more. And then once you can sense the breath now moving into the back and the sides, just rest the arms alongside you. And turn the toes to point towards the sky. Lightly dig down into your heels, and keeping the legs relatively relaxed, start to point and flex at the ankles. So as you point and flex at the ankles, it'll start to jiggle your head along the floor. So your head will be kind of nodding yes. And you might even feel the backs of the legs starting to fire up a little. Good, and then just let that settle. And notice the kind of remnants of that through the body. Maybe the legs lie a little differently on the mat. And now make the toes go all the way out and then all the way in. So now internal and external rotation. So just wake up the external rotators and the internal rotators of the hip. And again, you can make this relatively fast. And then see if you can make them both go the same way. So both going to the right and then to the left, and again, relatively fast, and it'll just start to rock the pelvis in a slightly different way, the rest of the body. Good, and then just let that settle, and again, just notice how the legs have fallen. Notice that energy starting to build through the lower limbs. And then slide your feet in just the half length of your foot. So it's a very small movement in, just enough to get a little bit of a bend in the knees, and then turn your toes up towards the sky. Strongly curl your tailbone up towards your face. You'll feel your lower back squish into the floor. Try and pull your heels back towards your butt, but they're kind of stuck to the floor, and then raise your hips to the sky. So long lever bridge with a really strong posterior tilt. Should feel the backs of the legs really fire up. See if you can keep the breath flowing into the sides and the back body. It's a little isometric contraction to light up the hamstrings. Good, and then lower your hips to the floor. You might do that little jiggling action. And just notice that little bit of heat. And again, slide the feet in just a little bit. This time, turn your toes out. Again, curl your tailbone strongly towards your face, and then press through the heels, or the outer heels this time, and lift up. So this time biasing external rotation, more of that lateral hamstring. Careful not to flare out into the ribs. I noticed myself just doing that. So think ribs down towards the pelvis as you curl the tailbone towards the face. It's going to get the backs of the legs even more. Good, and then lower your hips to the floor and just give the legs a little wriggle. So throughout all of this floor sequence, really watch if you start to go into a rib flare. It's quite common because we often will try and use the lower back to do the work rather than the legs and the hamstrings. Slide the feet in a little bit again, and this time turn the toes all the way in. So you've got internal rotation. Again, dig through the heels, try and pull them lightly back towards your butt. Curl your tailbone strongly towards your face. The low back squishes into the floor. And now from there, press down and lift up. Check in with the ribs. Notice if you flared the ribs. Try and squeeze the big toes towards each other, the inner thighs. So now biasing that inner hamstring and adductor magnus. Adductor magnus also helps the hamstrings out with hip extension. Nicely done, lower down. Again, just give the legs a little wriggle. And then locate your block. Slide your legs into about 3/4 of the way towards your bridge. Well, sorry, your legs are 3/4 out from your bridge. So if bridge was, say, here with my heels directly under my knees, I'm going to walk my feet towards the top of my mat. So it's kind of another about half distance or so. And then place the block between your thighs and give it a good squeeze. Reach your arms straight up above your chest and then reach up as much as you can so the outer shoulder comes away from the floor, but more importantly, the ribs come down towards the pelvis. Again, strongly curl the tailbone towards your face so you feel your low back squish into the floor. Press through your heels and start to peel the body up one vertebrae at a time. Keep squeezing onto the block and reaching up. And for most of you, you won't be able to get too high if you're maintaining those alignment cues. If you feel this mostly in your back, curl your tailbone a little more. If you still don't feel it in the backs of the legs, lift your toes towards the sky. Again, breathe into the back and the sides of the body. Nice, and then lower your hips to the floor, take the block out, just give the legs a little wriggle, maybe hug the knees in, take a little rock and roll. And this time, feet at that bridge setup position. So heels roughly underneath your knees. Take the block and again, squeeze it between the thighs. Reach your arms straight up to the sky and then reach up so much that it peels the outer shoulder away and pulls the ribs down. Press down through the heels, curl the tailbone strongly to the face, and then raise the hips up. And again, if you don't really feel it in the backs of the legs, maybe lift the toes away from the floor so you're just digging into your heels. You can stay with both feet on the floor, or you could try transitioning into one foot and extending one leg forward. Now check that the two hip points stay pointing up and you're still strongly curling the tailbone towards the face. Keep the reach of the arms. If you lifted one leg, switch sides. Should be pretty spicy, it is for me. Keep the breath flowing. Good, lower the foot down, lower your hips to the floor, soles of the feet together, knees go wide. And just big breaths into the back and the sides of the body. Just feeling the inner thighs start to open. Let's try that one more time. So feet to the floor, block between the thighs. Now you can either keep the heels as they were or you could walk them back out a little again, so it's going to get even spicier through the hamstrings. Squeeze onto the block, reach the arms up, and then reach up a little bit more. Curl the tailbone to the face, press through the heels and lift your hips. If you're not feeling it, remember you can turn the toes up. And then if you want a little more, kick one leg forward. Drive down through the heel of the foot that's left on the floor. Really feel the back of the leg light up. Switch sides. Push down and extend the other leg forward. Curl the tailbone a little more. Good work. Place the foot down. Lower the hips down. Soles of the feet come together. Knees go wide. Nice full breaths. And then feet back to the floor. Reach up and grab the big toe of your right foot with your peace fingers. This is where you might want to strap. And pull the knee down towards the outer armpit, half happy baby, and push the heel straight up to the sky. So that's our movement. But now see if you can put a little bit of resistance in the motion. So as you pull down, you resist, and as you kick up, you're resisting. So that resistance is just firing up the muscle as we move the leg through range of motion. So it can be a good way of just inviting more range of motion, lighting up more of the muscle and more of our brain. Good, and then release that side and switch over. Peace fingers around the left big toe, and again, just pulling down towards the outer arm and then kicking straight up to the sky. Putting resistance as you pull down and resistance as you kick away. Last couple. Very good. Release that. Hug your knees in. Again, a little rock and roll. And then let that rock and roll bring you up and over and into tabletop. And you can just bring the block to the top of your mat. And once you're in your tabletop, slide your right leg back on the floor, tuck the toes, and then push down into your hands. And as you do that, feel how you protract, but also bring the ribs down and in. Now see if you can keep your back exactly like that as you raise your right leg to the sky. So now firing up the back of the leg again. Left arm reaches forward. Cross the center line with the arm and the leg and touch the hand and the foot to the floor. Then lift it up again. Don't throw anything in the back. Sweep the arm and the leg out to the other side so you fire hydrant the arm and the leg. Sweep the arm back to bird dog. Check in with the ribs. Push down with the right hand. Cross the center line and tap the floor. Lift up and then sweep the arm and the leg out to the side. Bend the knee towards your right upper arm. Fire hydrant. Sweep back. Push the earth away. Cross the center line. Tap. Up and over to your fire hydrant. Good. Stay here. Kick out to the side. Keep the leg up. Try and lift it up a little higher. And then plant the right foot out to the side. Plant your left hand to the ground. Lift your sitting bones, lift your chest, so cow pose. And then begin to move the body forwards and backwards. So just starting to stretch into that inner right thigh a little more. And then kind of find the place that you want to stay. Maybe it's 3/4 of the way back. Maybe it's all the way back. Place your right forearm to the floor, left hand behind the head, and then rotate open towards the left and stay. And if you've lost that sensation in the right leg, maybe shift forwards or backwards or lift your sitting bones up until you find the level of sensation that feels good for you right now. Nicely done. Release, plant the hand, and come back to tabletop. Slide your left leg back on the floor. And again, start by pushing the hands down so the ribs come down and in. Then keep everything as it is as you raise the left leg. Use the back of the leg to lift it. Right arm reaches forward. Cross the center line with the arm and the leg, and then tap hand and foot to the floor. Pick them up, sweep them out to the other side, bend the knee, draw it towards your left arm, fire hydrant. Come back to bird dog, push the earth away, cross the center line and tap. Come up, sweep out to the side, cactus the arm and the leg, fire hydrant. Sweep across, tap the floor. Lift it up, fire hydrant. Good, kick out to the side, try and lift the leg a little higher and then plant it to the floor. Lift your chest and lift your sitting bones into cow pose and begin to shift the weight forwards and backwards. And then find the place that feels interesting for you. So it might be a little further back. Left forearm to the floor, right hand behind the head, and rotate open to the right. Good, and then release. Come back to tabletop. Walk your hands forward on the mat. Tuck your toes and press back, downward facing dog. We'll just do a little bit of a sciatic flush here. So as you lift your heels around your spine like cat pose, look at your belly. Then lower the heels down, lift your chest, lift your sitting bones, bend your knees, so cow pose. Lift your heels as you straighten your legs around your spine, cat. Lower the heels, lift your sitting bones, lift your chest, cow. One more of these. Lift and round. Lower the heels, bend the knees, cow. Regular down dog, pressing through the outer three fingers, energetically trying to lift your heels, the heels of the hands up, and also energetically trying to lift your toes up so you feel that start to stretch the backs of the legs. And then tiptoe your way forward to the top of your mat. Locate your block and bring it to its highest setting. Bring your hands up onto your block so you're in your halfway lift position. Bring the weight into the balls of your feet, and you may need to bend the knees a little. Just take a moment to shift your pelvis up and down a couple of times, so anterior and posterior tilt. Sitting bones up, sitting bones under. Just find that place where you feel a bit of a stretch sensation through the backs of the legs. Once you've got that, press out with your feet and then see if you can feel the backs of the legs start to engage as you bring your hands onto your waist. Lead with the back of the chest and think of squeezing the hamstrings and the glutes to pull you on up to stand. And then fold back to that halfway position again. I like to soften the knees a little as I go. Lead with the back of the chest as you rise back up. Again, think of squeezing the backs of the legs. And then as you're folding forward, feel these muscles also squeezing, so you're resisting gravity on the way down. Push the earth away as you rise on up. Fold back to halfway. Pause. Soften the knees a little. Put the weight into the right leg and then kick the left heel up to your butt and then back to the floor. So you're just doing a shortening contraction on the left side. Kick it up to your butt. Bring it back to the floor. Kick it up to the butt, and this time step it back and lower the back knee to the floor. Bring your hands on either side of your front foot. Bring the knee forward, lift your chest so it feels like cow pose again. And then straighten out the front leg, keep the toes on the floor, round your spine, cat pose. Come forward, bend the knee into your cow pose. Round your spine, cat pose. Inhale forward, cow. Exhale back, cat. Come forward, plant your hands, step back, plank pose. Press hands and feet into the ground, pull them towards each other, and keep that action as you slowly lower to your belly. Once you're on your belly, press your head into the floor, press your pelvis into the floor, tailbone scoops towards the mat. Keep all of that as you lift your feet away from the floor, head still down. Squeeze the legs together. See if you can really feel your butt squeeze to lift the legs. Then lift your chest and pull back with your hands. Squeeze the heels towards your butt. Keep the knees up. Straighten the legs back out again. 2 more like that. Pull the heels towards your butt. Straighten back out. Last one. Pull the heels in. Straighten back out. Release to the floor. Press your way back to downward facing dog. So we're using these lengthening and shortening contractions just to really wake up the hamstrings a little more. A lot of what we do in this practice tends to just be lengthening. So now we're trying to bring a little bit of length under load, but also explore that shortening phase as well, the concentric phase. Without bending your right leg, sweep it to the sky. Draw the knee to the nose and step it between your hands. Drop your back knee onto the floor and rise on up to low lunge. Try and squeeze the legs towards each other. Now straighten your front leg, turn the toes up, hips go back, half split. Front heel is going to pull to bring you forward into your low lunge. So really feeling the back of the leg do the work. Straighten out the leg, turn the toes up, half split. Pull yourself forward, low lunge. One more time, push yourself back, half split and stay. See if you can dig the heel into the floor as well as trying to drag it back. So the back of the leg, again, really alive. Then try turning the toes out a little and find an interesting place to stay where you start to bias more of that outer hamstring. Good. Turn the toes back to face forward and step forward, top of the mat. Take notice of how the right leg feels. Maybe it feels a little longer. Come to your halfway lift position, hands on the block. If you like, this time arms could reach forward, longer lever. Sweep all the way up to the sky. Again, squeeze the back of the legs. Resist gravity as you fold to halfway. Squeeze the backs of the legs to bring yourself all the way up. Resist gravity as you fold to halfway. Soften the knees, bring the hands to the waist. Kick your right heel up to your butt. Release it back down. Squeeze that right heel up. Release it back down. Squeeze it up and step back, lower the back knee. Bring the hands on either side of the front foot. Sink the hips down as you lift the chest. Inhale. Exhale as you straighten the front leg. Keep the toes down, but round your spine. Bend the front knee, lift your chest. Straighten out the leg as you round the spine, so a little sciatic floss. Bend the front knee, lift your chest. Straighten as you round. Come forward, plant the hands, step back, plank pose. Pull the feet and hands towards each other and slowly lower to your belly. Tilt the tailbone towards the floor, press the pelvis down, forehead down, and raise the legs up. Squeeze the legs in. Then lift your chest, pull back with your hands. Flex the feet this time, squeeze the heels to the butt. Extend the legs back out, move with resistance. Squeeze the heels to the butt. Extend back out, again, moving with resistance. Squeeze it in like you're squeezing something back. And extend. Release down, give your hips a little wriggle, and press it back, downward facing dog. Without bending your left leg, sweep it to the sky. Draw the knee in and step it between your hands. Drop the back knee and rise up to your low lunge. Again, try and squeeze the legs towards each other. Breath in. As you exhale, straighten the front leg, turn the toes up. This time hinge at the hips, so straight spine. Use the front heel to pull you forward, low lunge. Push yourself back, half split. One more time, pull yourself forward, low lunge. Press it back, half split and stay. See if you can dig the heel down and pull it back so you feel the back of the leg still alive. And then play with maybe turning that foot out a little. What does that do? Where do you feel it? Good. Turn the toes back forward and step forward, top of the mat. Come to halfway, hands to your block. Bring the hands to the waist or reach the arms forward and really slowly come up to stand. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands to the center of your chest. Samasthiti. Press out with your heels, bend your knees, chair pose. Keep pressing out with the heels. Pull the weight into your right leg, hover the left leg. So you've got a single leg chair. Now press the leg back, straighten out your left leg, warrior 3. Come back to that single leg chair, hovering your left leg. Push back, warrior 3. Come back, single leg chair, hover. Press the heel away from you, warrior 3. Lower the toes to the floor, arrowhead, and then raise your arms above your head, crescent. Now we're going to use a push-pull action again. So as you straighten out the leg, you're pushing and bringing the chest down to halfway. And now bend the leg and think of pulling the heel back underneath you to come back to crescent. Push as you send your chest forward. Pull with the heel as you bring your chest upright. Push as you send your chest forward and stay. Now can you do a little bit of that pulling as well as pushing? So what we call a co-contraction. Left hand can come onto the shin bone, your block, or the floor as you spiral your chest open and into your revolved Trikonasana. Still trying to push and pull with that front leg. Try and peel that outer left hip back. Good. Bend into the front leg. Plant your left hand to the floor and spin it open into a side plank. You can either have the right foot halfway down the mat or you can stack your feet. Watch the position of your ribs. Can you pull them in? Lift your hips. Right hand comes to the floor, high plank position. Pull the mat back, lower, chaturanga. Rise for your up dog, pulling the mat back. And roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Right leg to the sky. Draw the knee in, step it between the hands. Walk the fingertips forward and lift your left leg up for a standing splits. Squeeze the left butt and try and pull this right leg towards your face. Good. Release the foot to the floor. Soften into the knees, and this time just roll on up to stand. We take the load out of the hamstrings for a moment. Take a moment, Tadasana. Bend your knees, sit for chair pose. Pull the weight into the left foot, hover your right leg. And then straighten the right leg back behind you for warrior 3. Bend this left knee, come back to your hovering chair. Straighten the leg back behind you, warrior 3. Come back, hovering chair. One more time, extend back behind you, warrior 3. Lower the toes to the floor and then raise the arms above your head, crescent. Push with the front leg as you send your chest forward, pyramid. Pull with the front leg as you come back up, crescent. Push with the front leg, pyramid. Pull the heel underneath you, crescent. Push as you come to pyramid and pause. And now see if you can do a sense of that pulling the heel back underneath you as well. Once you've got that co-contraction, right hand either to your shin bone or to your block, left hand spirals into your revolved Trikonasana. If your hand is on your shin bone, you can press the shin bone and hand against each other. Good. Slowly bend the knee, plant your hand, spin to the outer edge of your right foot, either left foot halfway down or you stack your feet. But try to bring the ribs down and in. Finding, again, that placement of the rib cage where we can light up the core. Good. Hand to the floor, high plank. Press into the outer three fingers. Pull the mat back, lower, chaturanga. Rise to your up dog. And roll over the toes, downward facing dog. Left leg floats to the sky. Draw the knee in and step it between your hands. Walk the fingertips out in front of you and lift your right leg up for your standing splits. Squeeze the butt of that top leg. And think of kicking your bottom leg towards your face. Good. Release the foot to the floor. Soften your knees and roll on up to stand. Tadasana. Hands to the center of your chest. Bend your knees, chair pose. This time take your left foot, go out to the right and tap. Bring it back to the mat. Take the right foot out to the left and tap. Bring it back onto the mat. One more time each side. Out to the right, back to the mat. Check that the knees stay over the toes. Tap out to the left and come back. Fold over your legs. Halfway lift. Step back, plank pose. Lower through your chaturanga. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. Raise the right leg to the sky, stack and open the hip and squeeze the heel towards your butt. So use that contraction of the hamstring to start to open the quadricep of that right leg. Good. Square the pelvis, straighten out the leg. Draw the knee to the nose, step it between your hands. Spin your back heel and open to warrior two stance. Just take a moment, adjust your feet if you need to. And then flip your front palm, reverse your warrior. Straighten out the front leg into Trikonasana, hand to the shin. Right heel pulls back underneath you to bring you into reverse. Then push the foot into the floor to straighten, come to Trikonasana. Pulling action brings you into reverse. Pushing action, Trikonasana, stay. Now see if you can do a little bit of that pulling action as well. So finding a push-pull in that front leg. So again, a co-contraction. For some of you, that will mean it will kind of micro-bend the knee a little. Notice where the ribs are. See if you can pull them in. Breathe into the back of the chest. Good. Bend the front knee. Reverse. This time, slide the back leg in. Stand strongly on the right leg and begin to lift up into a floating star. So keep it higher rather than going more for that half moon. Try and stay a little bit more buoyant. Good. Left leg steps back. Turn the left toes. Bend the left knee. Skandasana. Hands wherever feels comfortable. And if you need to lift this heel away from the floor or be a little higher, that's also possible. Then keep going around to the left. Drop your right knee onto the floor and snuggle your left shoulder underneath the leg. Once you've got it underneath the leg, you could keep the knee on the floor and open your wings, or you could lift the back leg and open the wings. Try and squeeze the knee onto your shoulder and melt the hips to the floor. Good, release the hands, wiggle the arm back out and toe here, actually don't wiggle the arm back out yet, snuggle it back under and see if you can straighten out the leg with the arm underneath. Little bit trickier, you probably won't be able to get all the way straight, you just kind of see where you get to. Good, and then bend the knee, now unwind the arm and wiggle the foot out to the side. Plant your hands and push the ground away, super glue the knee onto your upper arm. Pull the foot away from the floor. You might just stay there holding a really strong plank. Some of you might do a chaturanga, keeping the knee on the arm, then press back up, sweep the leg to the sky, three-legged down dog. Squeeze the heel to your butt, open out, scorpion. Straighten out the leg, draw the knee in, step it between your hands. Spin your back heel and open to warrior two. Again, take a moment, adjust your feet if you need to. Then flip your front palm, reverse. Push through the front leg to come to Trikonasana. So using that push-pull action again. Pull the heel back underneath you to come into reverse. Push the foot into the floor, Trikonasana. Pull the heel underneath you, reverse. Push the foot into the floor, Trikonasana, and stay. Again, ribs come in. Push-pull action through that front foot. What do you notice when you do both of those actions together? Good, pulling action, reverse. Then reach all the way forward, slide the back leg in and pop up into your half moon or floating star balance. Slowly step back, turn the toes, soften into Skandasana to the right. Arms wherever feels comfortable. And then keep going around to the right. Drop the left knee onto the floor. Snuggle your right shoulder underneath the leg. And then either take the arms straight out to the side or lift up the back leg and then take the arms out to the side, aeroplane pose. Squeeze your knee onto your upper arm. Melt your hips towards the floor. Good. Hands come to the floor. Begin to straighten out the leg, keeping your arm underneath. And then bend the knee. Unwind your arm and wiggle your foot to the outer edge of your mat. Plant your hands and super glue the knee onto your upper arm. Pull the foot away from the floor. Either hold a really strong plank or lower for chaturanga. Rise back up and sweep the leg back and up. Scorpion dog. It's the same flow. I'm just going to add one little extra bit to it. Straighten out the leg, draw the knee in, step it between the hands. Warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse. Straighten out the front leg for Trikonasana. Bend the front knee, reverse. Straighten the front leg, Trikonasana. Reverse. This time slide the back leg in, pop up into your floating star. Slowly step it back. Skandasana to the left. And then sweep around to the left. Plant your hands and super glue the knee onto your upper arm. Pull the foot away. Again, hold plank or lower for chaturanga. And as you do that, kick your left leg forward. Come back up, sweep the leg back, stack and open the hips, scorpion dog. Straighten out the leg, sweep the leg through, spin the heel, warrior two. Flip the front palm, reverse. Straighten the leg, Trikonasana. Reverse. Trikonasana. Reverse. This time, slide the back leg in to pop up into your floating star. Step it back, turn the toes, Skandasana. Come all the way around, plant your hands, bring the knee high up on your upper arms, pull the foot away from the floor. Either stay there or bend your elbows and kick your right foot forward. Then come up, sweep the leg back, stack and open the hip. And this time just bring the toes to the floor, lower the knees down, and come to stand up on your knees. Maybe give the shoulders a little roll out. Tuck your toes under, scoop the tailbone down and forward. Bring your left hand to your butt. Sweep the right hand over the head. And then if you can see that left foot and it looks close, you can grab for the heel. Asymmetrical camel. Good. Circle around to the other side. Right hand to the butt, left hand to the sky. Look down at the foot if it looks close. Maybe right hand to the heel. Good. Circle back around and step your right foot forward. Start to slide your left leg back and grab your block. You're going to place it underneath this front leg when you meet your edge. So moving into Hanumanasana or monkey splits. So you might have it on the higher setting or the medium setting, maybe the lowest setting, or you might not need it at all. So just kind of picking what you need. You can even use 2 blocks underneath the hands if that is more where you like to stay. Once you've got into your splits, press down into the floor with both legs. So the front of the back leg and the back of the front leg is active. Good, and then walk the hands back in, slide your legs back together, and switch over sides. So left leg comes forward, grab that block underneath the thigh if you need it. And you might need it on a higher setting on this side, so don't be afraid to, try things out. You don't have to go exactly the same as it was on the other side. Once you've found that place that works for you, press down into the floor. Particularly if you can sit all the way down, really activate through the legs so that the nervous system and the muscular system is active at this end range. Just kind of sitting into the joints. Good, and then very carefully slide back in or roll off to the side to swing your leg around. Walk your hands back beside you. Puff up through the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then press through the heels to raise your hips up. Parsvottanasana. If you need to, you can bend your knees and make it more of a reverse tabletop. Try and squeeze the butt, lift your hips a little higher. Good, and then lower your hips down to the floor. Reach your arms out in front of you and slowly lower down 1 vertebrae at a time. Once you get all the way down to the floor, take the arms out into a T alongside the body. Reach your right leg up to the sky and then take it over towards the left. You might catch the outside of the foot or the outside of the shin bone or the outside of the knee. So just finding somewhere on that leg to hold on to. And then lightly press your leg up into your hand as you're pulling the leg down. So again, that leg is active. as we're taking it into the stretch and into the twist. See if you can keep that right shoulder blade pinned to the floor. And the left toes pointing to the sky. Good. Bring the leg back to the center and release it down. Just notice how the sides of the body might feel different. Then take the left leg up to the sky. Take it over to the right. Again, catch either the outer foot, the outer shin, or the outer knee. Press the leg up into your arm as the arm is drawing it towards the floor. And then see if you can turn your right toes to point up. And the left shoulder stays down. And then slowly bring the leg back to the center. Release the foot down. Draw both knees in. Catch your big toes. Either happy baby, or you can take the legs out wider for a supine upavishta. If you're in happy baby, you might straighten one leg, then the other. If you're in upavishta, you might just do a gentle rock. Good, and then draw the legs together, so the legs are straight now and together, or as straight as you can get. It's okay if there's a little bit of a bend. So supine Paschimottanasana, or forward fold. Pull the toes back towards your shin bones. Good, and then release the feet. Slowly lower your legs down to the floor. Once your legs are out long, go back into that pointing and flexing that we started with. So just that little jiggle, just to kind of relax the body. Come back to this gentle rock, which is really soothing for the nervous system, particularly if it's been quite fiery through the backs of the legs. We just want to calm things down before our shavasana. Good, and then just let that settle and find your resting position. And each time you exhale, add another count. You start to get a longer exhalation. When you get to either 8 or 10 counts, depending on what feels most comfortable for you, then just stay at that. And do 3 or 4 rounds at that before letting go. When we work through the legs, it's always a good reminder of our connection to the earth. A reminder of these parts of the body that help us to stand more upright, but also help to move us forward. So perhaps maybe using this practice to feel a little more grounded, a little bit more ready for whatever challenges might come your way, and more able to stand your ground. Stay as long as you need to in Shavasana, and thank you for practicing with me. Hari Om.